Hi, everybody. I'm Jenyce, and this is Wendy Baldwin Hargett, and we are Lightweavings podcast, and we're so happy to be here again this week. It's so good to see you, Wendy.
Oh, it's wonderful to see you too, Dawn. I'm so excited.
I'm excited too. We've got some really wonderful nuggets and thoughts and sort of, thought leadership that we want to talk about today. And so here at Lightweavings podcast, our goal is to really talk about what is dimming our lights and what can we do about it? How can we brighten up that light a little bit? Because when we bring in more light, we bring in more joy, and that's what we're here for. And sometimes the conversations might be uncomfortable for some, but we're here to do that anyway because we want to bring light to it. So let's get started, girl.
Okay, I'm ready.
Awesome. We were just having a little conversation and before we started recording here, and I feel like it was valid. Don't you, Wendy?
I do. I said we should be recording. So
Yeah.
here we go.
And so this in a journal that I have, the whole idea of perfectionism came up, and what areas do I feel like I need to be perfect in my life? What's it doing to my life, and how does that work for the commonality of humanity, really how humanity works together. And the thought came to me that if we were perfect, we would be solo because we wouldn't need anybody else's strengths because we'd have everything right. And I feel like our human experience is to connect with others and have love for one another. It feels like that's a message that keeps coming. And is that ringing true to you, Wendy? Does that sound about right? Or am I off?
That sounds spot on. As a
Oh,
human species, we do need that connection. We need that connection to survive and to enhance our life. And I'm in the same boat as you. It's been a very clear message to me time and time again that we are here for love. We're here to experience love, to be loved, to share love, and to get back to love because that is who we are.
I love it. And so it's so exciting when we think about it in this way, like perfectionism would not allow that. To be perfect, it would not allow that. Our imperfections are, like I was saying earlier, they're like a puzzle piece. When you put a puzzle together, a jigsaw puzzle together, there's like holes and like little thumbs that fit into those holes. And I feel like that's where our gifts fit into weaknesses. And that's how we're connected in this world. And it's kind of exciting to think of it that way. It's a way to celebrate imperfection.
That's a really good visual. And another visual that comes to mind too is like magnets as well. It's just whatever that brings people together. And, perfectionism is something that so many of us need to strive to overcome because, yeah, that fallacy of being perfect, it does not exist, can drive a person crazy. I mean, it stops people in their tracks. It stops people from achieving goals, perhaps going for the career path that they want. It can stop people from leaving the house because they don't look quote unquote perfect to go out the door. They're so afraid of judgment. And it really stifles people, that false belief that we have to be perfect. And I don't even know where this started with humanity. I don't even know where it starts with us individually. Somewhere along the line, we picked up this notion that we have to be perfect. We have to be perfect in order to be loved, to be accepted. And that is something that we all need to understand, that we get to heal that because it's a false belief.
Yeah, you're definitely onto something there. Where does it come from? And sort of, writing about my childhood and possible traumas or reasons why I feel like I need to constantly strive for this perfectionism and dumb areas. I mean, not dumb, but areas of my life that's just really, when you think about it in the big scheme of things, are fairly insignificant, like what my home looks like, or, what my wardrobe looks like, or, what my makeup looks like on me that day, or, maybe a hair out of place or something like that. It's just, sort of futile, number one. But it feels to me in my life that some of it may have come from looking for approval from a parent or somebody in authority. And when we're in school, of course, if we get something just right and we get 100% on a test, that's perfectionism, right?
Right.
We get rewarded for that, and not just maybe a star on the page or a grade on a piece of paper, but respect in the classroom from the person in authority and also our peers. And that brings about a feeling of safety. Like, okay, now I have earned a safe place in this community for a while, at least until the next test comes up, you know. But that's just one way of thinking about it. And also in a home with a family, if there was many children in my family, and probably possibility for chaos, but um, to get out of line according to the rules of the house was frightening. It was frightening because one of our basic needs is safety, and it doesn't feel safe if you're in trouble, or if the parent raises their voice at you or spanks you, or whatever they did in the 60s.
Right.
For punishment, and that for a child is unsafe. So that feeling of safety, I think, is probably one of the reasons in my life that perfectionism appears.
Those are all extremely valid points. And I agree with you 100%. The uncertainty and the family home, and so many of us went through that. I don't know many people that did not experience that. Oh, if I don't live up to the standards of expectations, there's going to be some sort of a punishment. And for some of us, that punishment was really severe. And I like what you said about the safety. That is one of the core pillars of good health, actually. Good physical health and good emotional health, good relationship health is to feel safe. And I was actually today, I finished up a course on the polyvagal nervous system, and it's all about safety. And whenever we don't feel safe, that part of our body gets triggered. And when that gets, it's a kind of a complex topic, which I don't know that we'll go into today, but whenever we don't feel safe for a long time, that part of us, it gets kind of worn down, gets kind of worn out. And actually, as the instructor was saying, like that whole nerve no longer gets insulated. And so it sets us up throughout our life for all kinds of dysfunction. And we get to go in and heal that. We get to go in and heal whatever it is that happened in our life to lead us to believe that we have to be perfect to be safe. Because like you say, there is no perfection, and we get to be safe regardless of what our house looks like, regardless of whether we follow the rules, as an adult, at least, we get to go in and heal that. And that is such a powerful gift that we get to give to ourselves. And I feel it's a responsibility
It
for
is.
us.
Yes, it is. And honestly, we are responsible for each other in a way that's not codependent, but more so like those pieces of that puzzle where it, now that I know this about perfectionism and safety and what you're saying about the vagal nerve, is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Um, it it might even be true, and let me know what you think about this idea, that it's safer in our world, really, truly, to not be perfect.
I can see a lot of validity in that. Absolutely.
And the reason I'm saying that is because of the community that then gels from that,
Mm-hmm.
because none of us are. And if we can support each other with our strengths and weaknesses in community, because we're drawn to those that sort of fill the gaps, don't you think?
Right.
feel like we're drawn to that safety. They say there's safety in numbers. Well, that kind of fits, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah. So being alone doesn't feel safe to me. Being alone, I don't just mean temporarily, like, because I'm a Cancer. So I do go in my shell and I like my space, I like to go heal, or think things through for sure. Maybe more so than I should, but I do like to do that. But what I mean is to feel lonely,
Mm,
feel isolated. That type of aloneness to me isn't safe. And if I was that perfect person that didn't need anybody, really didn't really connect, and I think the word is connect with
mhm.
anybody, to me, that's not safe. I feel safe when I am connected to my
Hmm.
tribe.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we're tribal people. And I like that you brought up the fact that there's a difference between feeling lonely and being alone. Because personally, I love to be alone. I have siblings. I have three siblings. They live in another country. We were raised in a different country. I was raised in America. I was raised as an only child. And so I grew up being alone. And I contribute a lot of that wanting to be alone to that's what I know. I know
Mhm.
how to be alone. And it can be overwhelming for me sometimes to be around other people. I have to excuse myself, and say, it's not about you. I just need my space. And I fantasize about being alone.
Honestly,
But
sometimes I do that too. Sometimes it's
yeah.
like a happy place I go to in my mind. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I like to go there in my mind and my body and my spirit and just completely disconnect. One of my dreams is to be on an island all by myself I used to dream about 3 months, but now it's like, you know what? I would be happy to be all alone for at least a month. And then I can come back out and socialize with everybody. But I don't know, I might change my mind after a couple of weeks because, yeah, I like to be social. I mean, I would miss you.
I would miss you too. You're not allowed to go
So,
to the island
so
alone for a month. I have to
uh,
say no to that. So,
well, I
uh,
guess as long as we have internet. No, but yeah, that's a really good point. And um, yeah, the loneliness, the feeling of the loneliness, and feeling all alone is that's a trauma actually. And I was reading this really good book that I think it'd be really fun to have a lengthy conversation about this sometime. But that feeling of being all alone for some people can actually be like a spiritual wound. So that goes way, way back.
when you mean spiritual wound, are you talking about another lifetime?
I'm talking about feeling like alone on this universe, on this planet by ourselves, because there's been like a disconnection to our remembering who we are as beings of light and
In
beings
this
of love
lifetime?
in this lifetime. Yes. And it absolutely could be from previous lifetimes. Absolutely. That's all possibility. And there's also the possibility of, inherited trauma from your ancestors. So there's all kinds of possibilities there without being alone. I just thought it was really fascinating when I read that for a lot of people, this is actually like a spiritual wound. And I thought, ooh, that resonates. And
Yes.
and actually, to go a little bit further on this, that can come from trauma early in our life.
The spiritual wound.
The spiritual wounds. Yeah. So, anyway, like I said, I think it'd be really fun to have a more in depth conversation on that spiritual part. Um, but for today, you know, the maybe not go down that path.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I feel like the safety and the that concept of perfectionism is it can be so damaging when we're stuck on it. And I
mhm,
know I've been stuck in it before. And I do literally mean stuck when it comes to movement in my life, to move
mhm,
through something or towards something that is important to me.
mhm.
Because if I think it's got to be perfect, if I'm using that as the reason and it's not perfect yet, my reason for not moving forward, that's called procrastination in my
Exactly. Exactly.
it's called procrastination or a fear. It's fear driven.
Yeah.
And so then perfectionism also can be used as a reason to not move forward just because it's stemming from fear. And so the key is to get to the root of that, of what that fear is.
Right.
What is the fear? Where does the fear come from? And how does it show up? And just recognizing it is a huge step forward.
Oh, absolutely.
And you're defining it and labeling it. And so then we start working through that by speaking it and talking about it with a coach, for example, or our tribe, or a loved one. When that happens, it no longer has power over you.
Right.
You speak it out, or it diminishes it greatly.
Right.
Yes. Perfectionism, all that came from wanting something to be perfect. It all goes right down to that. Yeah. Yeah. So it can definitely stifle us. Like you said in the beginning, it is stifling. It is a reason to not move forward and to sort of hide and cower.
Yes. It's what if from this time forward, instead of it being a reason, it's an excuse. Now that there's been light shined upon the topic, there's more awareness.
Yes.
And so with awareness is the opportunity to go in and to heal all of that. So now it would just become a choice.
Exactly. Because a reason may seem so solid, like you can't move past it. Oh, this is the reason. But an excuse is like your choice. That's the choice part.
Right.
And completely different. A reason and an excuse are completely different. An excuse is weak.
Right. Right.
A reason seems too strong to move past.
Right.
But it's not the truth.
It's the old truth. It's the old belief.
We make it a truth.
Yeah, we do. So I'm just curious, asking coach to coach, how would you, if somebody came to you and said, "Hey, Dawn, I have this challenge, this issue, this problem," some people call it a problem, with perfectionism, what would be the first step of guidance that you would give them?
So I'd like to know more about what area of your life this perfectionism shows up in. I would
Oh,
I would I would ask my client, my friend, that we would she or he would share that with me, and then I would start asking, and what is most important about that to you? And we just start digging a bit into what that is, and then get to really what the big motivating factor is for that perfectionism. What is the reason? And sometimes, usually, we're very surprised to hear ourselves say what it really truly is from, because we don't want to look at the real reason.
Isn't that the truth? Well, and on that note, sometimes we don't even know what the real reason is until we've gone and we've cleared some of that space and given air, given space, breathing room to that subconscious part of us, because it's so ingrained in us that and it's like behind a veil kind of thing, or behind a closed door, and you open up that door and it's can be very shocking.
And
Yeah.
simple. People
Yes.
are shocked because it's such a simple thing.
Right.
It has been affecting everything, like a sesame seed stuck, under a tooth.
Right.
A simple little thing like that can cause grave amounts of pain.
Yes.
And just working that process with a coach, um, it makes it seem simple once we get to that, and then we work on that. And so, yeah, that's how I would do that, Wendy. Thank you for that question.
Yeah.
Uh, and that is how we work in the coaching industry. It's just walking with somebody down their own path towards
Right.
joy.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's just a walk and having candid conversations, and just asking the question. And usually, like Byron Katie, a author and thought leader that I follow, she asked that question: is it true?
Mm-hmm.
What a simple question.
Right. Isn't that just like one of the most powerful questions? Is this true? And then what I love is if your subconscious mind says, well, yes, then it's like, well, how can you be sure?
How can you be sure that it's true?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then so absolutely just asking some of the simplest questions can get the most profound ahas and life-changing moments. And it's cool. It's fun stuff.
it is fun stuff. And it's amazing. They say out of the mouths of babes when we talk about children saying profound things
Mhm.
because they aren't loaded up with all these limiting beliefs over years and years that we've accumulated. They actually have the truth still.
Well, that's so true. They do. And inside of us is our inner child, and our inner child is what holds the truth.
Mm,
So we access our inner child, and bingo, there's that same innocent, all knowing child.
yes, I heard a term, I think it was earlier today or yesterday. Oh, it was last night. I was in a group coaching session and they said your family of selves, meaning you've got that inner baby that you've talked about in your book,
Mhm.
the infant even before birth.
Mhm.
You've got the small child, you've got the preteen, you've got the teen, you've got all those parts of you. Those they are parts of you. It's who you have been
Yes.
your life. And all those times in our life still live within us and in our psyche and in our body.
Yes, they do.
So we can access that by working with, somebody that knows how to work with you in that way. And it's just as simple as asking questions. It's just that simple.
Yeah, it really is. One of the things I learned from one of my mentors and teachers is healing comes in asking the right questions. And I actually have a book somewhere in my in my stack of books, and it's a book of just questions, healing questions, and it's specifically around different physical ailments. But yeah, just asking the right questions. It's really fascinating.
So I guess, so therefore, if it's just that simple as asking the right question, that means that we always have the answer.
Yes, we do. All of our answers are within us. We have access to our higher self, our subconscious self, our heart, our soul. It is absolutely within us. We just have to be brave enough to access it. And um, it takes courage. It takes a wanting to do it. It takes a commitment. There's a difference between being interested in figuring out your procrastination issues, and there's compared to being committed, because when you're committed you're willing to go in, get your hands dirty, take a look, and it's never as scary as you think it's going to be. The fear from going in and changing any kind of procrastination or anything else is the ego, who's saying, wait a second, we're really used to being like this, and we don't know. Now, remember that one time that you decided to not be perfect and you got made fun of, and so it's like calling us back, and we get to override that
Once
because
again, it falls
pardon
back
me?
on safety.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Because our bodies, we do, our psyches, our psyche and our body has to feel safe. And as an adult, we do get to override, like I said, that inner voice that tries to stop us, because we know that we are safe, and we get to assure ourselves that we are safe. Um, Yesterday, I had a session with a client, and I asked her at the very beginning, how are you doing? And she's like, first of all, she, wasn't feeling right. That's why we were there. And then, she's like, I'm scared. And it's like, that's okay. It's okay, because you're doing something different. And in less than an hour, it was like, oh my God, there was nothing to be afraid about. A total life transformation. And so it's as simple as we allow it to be. And it's as, I like to say, it's fun, just to go in and explore and play. um, but yeah, it takes courage, and it takes a wanting to do it. It takes a commitment. It takes showing up for yourself.
It does. And there's been so many times in my life where I wasn't ready,
Mhm.
even though I needed to do it. I wasn't ready. It probably didn't feel safe yet
Mm-hmm.
to go
Mm-hmm.
there for whatever reason it was. Maybe the lack of safety came from the possibility of overwhelm, of having too much on my plate if I went there,
Mm.
and I'm just saying, working through something that I knew I had to go through, like, let's just take something simple and basic that we're all probably going to think about pretty soon. And that is, if we should be anyway, doing our taxes. That's a simple thing. It's not too deep. It's like the taxes. So, uh, it's so when I do it every year, I'm like, oh, I should have done that so long ago, and I wouldn't have had to worry about it and wait,
Yeah.
feel guilty and like all that procrastination stuff. Um, but the fear was there for some reason. I was afraid of
Right.
what I was going to see or what I was going to find or how much take it was going to be or that I would be overwhelmed.
Right.
And you would think that year after year after year would be enough practice and that it would, tell me, oh, it's nothing to be afraid of. You've done it so many times before, but it still shows up. It still shows up. So I think that's a limiting belief about money, possibly. It is money related, isn't it? Taxes. So
Uh-huh. It sure is.
yeah,
And yeah, I love your analogy because I think just about everybody can relate to that. And the beauty though is you're talking about you just not being ready, feeling overwhelmed, whatever and that's okay because everybody's on their own journey. Excuse me. I'm sorry, I have a little trouble with my voice today. Everybody, there's no timeline. This is not a race. It's just you get to decide how long are you willing to tolerate the discomfort that you're in, if it's the procrastination or whatever, perfectionism, whatever it is. And you get to just honor yourself because there's no right or wrong time. It's just whenever it feels right for you.
I love that phrase that you get to decide when. I love that.
Yeah.
You do get to decide. It's your
Yeah.
journey. It is your journey. And when people work with me, and I'm sure the same with you, Wendy, when you have clients that work with you, you can tell if somebody's ready or not. And
Mm-hmm.
they'll come to you when they are ready.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing's going to get done until you're ready anyway.
Right.
You have to have that mindset of, okay, the word that you used, I'm committed. This is
Yes.
important to me. And I always ask that question. I like to use a scale of 1 to 10.
Mm-hmm.
A scale of 1 to 10, how important is this for you to resolve right now by the time we get to what the issue really is?
Right.
And, if it's at a 7 to a 10, it's time to work on it, and they're usually committed.
Mm-hmm.
But 9 times out of 10, by the time they figure it out and they go, oh, that's it. They're like, yeah, let's do it now. It's a 10, right? Yeah, because it
Yeah.
doesn't feel overwhelming when you break it down. It doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so tomorrow is February 1st.
Wow.
Can you believe it?
No.
Today's the last day of January already. And I don't know about you, but this month it started off to feel kind of dark and slow. To feel slow and dark, and people weren't quite ready for it. But it started the last few weeks just taking off like crazy. And it's happening fast now. Does it feel like that to you, or is that just my world?
That's a really good question. My year started off with a double bang, family trauma. So that was really a challenge to deal with. But I do agree with you. It's like the last week or two, it's like the energy has lightened because it was very heavy, for my experience, very heavy. And a lot of people went through a lot in the first couple of weeks. I thought that what my family went through the first, 2 days of the year was a lot, but man, we had it good compared to some other people. I was talking to a really nice man last week, and he had lost I can't remember if it was 2 or 3 family members just in the month of January. And multiple people lost loved people, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is intense. But yeah, I feel there is a shifting, and hopefully it just continues to get lighter. And more fun.
Yeah, I feel like it is getting lighter. First of all, we're now going back towards the full moon again, which
Mm,
the nights are brighter. I don't know if you notice the night skies are brighter. The days are starting to get shorter or longer.
yeah,
Excuse me, the days
right.
a little bit longer. The nights are getting shorter, which brings the light of things in. It's amazing how light really does change everything in our world. It changes our outlook. It changes everybody's outlook, which brightens our world and attitude as well as like the light itself. So for February, it feels like the word that keeps coming to me lately is connect.
Mm,
We even talked about that today, how we connect through imperfection,
hmm
how we really are more connected because we are not perfect, and how important that is. And I want to bring more connection into my world, connecting to community, connecting to myself more, getting to know myself more. I feel like that's
hmm
really important, that self-love, because it's easy to look past ourselves and through ourselves instead of at ourselves
hmm
and know who we are. So connecting and loving that imperfection that I
hmm
have. I don't, I'm a 62-year-old woman, and we should embrace those qualities that aren't perfect and love them because it makes us unique.
Yes. Yes, and as women we're taught not to embrace those, and we get to change that paradigm. And I love what you said about the light. The days are getting longer, and how that shifts everybody's moods. And we actually had sunshine for 2 days here, which, like, oh my God, the sun is out. But it makes me think about, it's like what the whole premise of this podcast is to shine the light. So it's not just the light on the outside of us, it's shining the light within us. I mean, because what you just said about how much better we all feel with the lighter days and everything. I just imagine how much better we all feel when we shine the light inside and just let our inner light just shine and glow.
Oh, that's just beautiful. I love the way you said that. When we do that, doesn't it like sort of show up in our eyes?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. And people will say that you glow. I've had people tell me that I glow. Uh, just being, yeah.
Yeah. And connecting, um, that I keep going back to that visual of the puzzle pieces. It's exciting when that connection happens, when you put that puzzle together. It's exciting. But yet there's those little spaces in between each piece where light can shine through.
Yes, absolutely. Beautifully said. And what's beautiful about, talking about connection is we humans have felt so separate from each other for such a long time.
Mm.
And we're actually not. We are scientifically proven that we are all interconnected. And how much more exciting and more uplifting and beautiful is it that we come together and connect consciously, and, like you say, have that community and to support each other, to lift each other up. And, you know, bless your heart, as a 62-year-old woman, you are gorgeous. You're an inspiration. I'm right behind you.
Love you.
No, seriously. You're perfect in my eyes. So,
It helps to hear
um,
that when you're a woman my age. It does help to hear that. So thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. I know we have the media beating us down like crazy, so we get to lift each other up and say, "Hey, we don't need to listen to that marketing BS anymore."
Yeah.
Uh,
No, you're right about the science of it, though. For a couple different things came to mind when you said the science of it, that we're all one. Yeah, and I think we probably have talked about this in another episode, but that when we bear children, when we are pregnant, whether the child is still here on this earth or not, doesn't matter, because when we give birth to a child, that a mother always, they have found recently that there are cells of every single child that she carried in her brain.
mm,
I mean, we are
wow,
literally connected still.
wow,
Isn't that amazing?
that
That's
is.
explains a lot of things to me, the mother's intuition, or the, just knowing there's something happening and you don't know where it's coming from. Well, it's coming from the cells in your brain. It's just fascinating. So it's not just woo. It's not just like, what they used to think was sort of hysteria from women. It's science. It's the truth. And the fact that we are all made of, energy, atoms. We are energy. We're electrons, protons, and neutrons. Everything is.
Right.
Everything is. This plastic container sitting next to me on my desk everything is energy. Everything holds energy and is energy, and we are connected to everything.
Right.
And that's blows my mind to try to think about that.
It's a very big concept.
Yeah, and we literally are connected. So yeah, and the whole reason we're here is that love.
Yes, it is. Yeah, our journey back to love and our journey back to self-love. And I love what you share. And I've actually quoted you multiple times recently, your stance on being centered in self. And I love that perspective, and that being centered in self is about love, like you said.
Yeah, if we really truly are centered and know who we are,
Yeah.
and are solid in that, then all that comes from that is love.
Yeah. Yeah.
For ourselves and everything else, because then
Yeah.
we're solid and grounded. Because that is the root of being connected, right
Yes,
there.
it is. Yes, it
So
is.
my goal for February of 2023, you know what the word is?
Connection?
It's connection. Good guess.
I was
Connect
paying
more.
attention.
You were. Connect more with myself,
Yeah.
with my friends, with my tribe, with my community, with the earth,
Yeah.
with that tree in the backyard that needs a hug.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. I'll be right there with you,
All
connecting.
right. Yeah. So I am actually going to really focus on that, on the word connection for the month of February in my community, and start putting posts out there in my Facebook group, my website. We're here in Lightweavings podcast talking about that. Everything. I think connection is really the key, those puzzle pieces that we are.
We are a puzzle sometimes.
I know I am.
Me too.
That's my husband. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so
So,
great. Well,
so
this topic. It may seem new to some of you out there that are listening or watching on YouTube, or it may be something that you know a lot about. But we would love your input. If you're watching this on YouTube, please do comment below. Let us know that you're here. Like our podcast, and definitely subscribe on YouTube. For those of you that are listening, feel free to reach out to us. We're going to be listing our publications below that we have published. Wendy has written an amazing book, and another amazing coach, Tamara Langford, and I have put together a guided journal, and we're going to be linking those below, as well as our websites and how to connect with us. Is there any closing words of wisdom that you have today, Miss Wendy?
I would just like to invite anybody who is struggling with perfectionism to go within and ask yourself, are you willing to let this go? And if not, ask yourself, what is the benefit to hanging on? Because we humans all operate, well, there has to be a benefit for why we do things. And now that we've shined the light on this really important topic of perfectionism, because it affects everybody at some point, just invite you to go within and ask yourself, are you ready to let this go? And if you need help, get help wherever that may be, whatever that looks like. And just allow yourself to be imperfectly perfect. Just be yourself and to move forward because perfectionism does stop you from really living your joy. And that's what we want. You know, you and I, Don, we want people to know that there's a way to live in joy, in peace, in love. You know, letting go of perfectionism is self-love.
It is.
Yeah. And know that you're safe doing it.
There's a calm that comes with that, isn't there?
There really is.
Yeah. And that to me screams peace and joy, calm
Yeah.
goes with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. How about you?
You know,
What?
I love that. Um, I love that closing thought. And to go along with what you're saying is if you're feeling in that stuck space because of, oh, it's not perfect, or I'm not enough to be there
Mm,
yet, to finish that or to go to that point of something that I really want to accomplish in my life. Something I've done recently is to get unstuck is just write a list of what I'm good at.
mm,
Everything I'm good at. Everything. And don't be shy. Nobody's going to see this but you. You know,
mhm,
it's okay to brag to yourself. It's okay. It's okay to brag and show the world actually. But if you're still struggling with that humility, which I'm a I have a problem with humility. But if you're struggling with humility, it's okay. Just write this list to yourself of everything that you're good at, everything, and just keep going. And pretty soon you're going to see that you do have what it takes and more to move forward imperfectly. It's safer if you're not perfect. It's safer. So keep going.
mm.
Yeah.
Beautiful words of wisdom.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you, all of you that were here today with Wendy and I here at Lightweavings podcast, where we ask that question, what has dimmed your light? And are you ready to do something about it? And we'll see you next time on Lightweavings. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.